This is the News4 Rundown.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the News4 Rundown. I'm Un Yang. It's Monday, April 27th. We'll get you caught up on some of today's big stories in just a few minutes, but we begin tonight with new information about the man accused of trying to take the president's life. Images from inside the courtroom as 31-year-old Cole Tomas Allen made his first appearance in Saturday night's ordeal. We've learned Allen allegedly sent writings to family members minutes before the incident, detailing his intended targets. On the list, top cabinet officials, but the president not specifically named. Allen faces several federal charges, including attempting to assassinate the president. Leading our team coverage tonight, NBC Julie Serkin has the latest on the investigation.
In federal court today, for the first time, Cole Tomas Allen, who authorities say opened fire outside the White House Correspondents Dinner with President Trump inside. He's facing federal charges.
The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. This count is punishable by up to life in prison.
Allen was taken down and arrested within minutes of the shooting. Authorities say he was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives.
Any suggestion that he wasn't there to do harm is absurd.
On Saturday night, officials say Allen rushed a security checkpoint one floor above the dinner, then exchanged gunfire with law enforcement. Secret Service tackled President Trump, who was inside the ballroom attending the annual dinner along with his cabinet, and whisked him out of the room and back to the White House. He spoke about it to 60 Minutes.
I wasn't worried. I understand life. We live in a crazy world.
Thousands of guests were inside the ballroom, including journalists, lawmakers, and news executives, who hid under the tables during an event intended to be a celebration of the First Amendment. But then, attendees, including myself, soon went to work.
Just to give folks perspective here, it's in my right corner. I'm standing across the street. They blocked off this entire perimeter.
While neither the president nor any guest were injured, a Secret Service officer was shot in the vest and taken to the hospital. The 31-year-old shooter is an engineer and teacher from Torrance, California. Officials say he sent anti-Trump writings to his family minutes before Saturday's incident. In a note provided to NBC News by a senior White House official, Allen talked about his intended targets, and though he did not name President Trump, appeared to refer to him and other top cabinet officials.
Now, the Secret Service tells NBC News the White House Correspondents' Dinner event was not designated a national special security event. That's typically used for the State of the Union in the Capitol, for example. Meanwhile, though, the White House did say they will have a meeting to reevaluate the president's security moving forward between Secret Service and Homeland Security leadership. All of this comes as the president and First Lady are receiving King Charles and Queen Camilla for a 4-day visit that began today. In Washington, Julie Serkin, NBC News.
This isn't the first attempt on the president's life, the first attempt to kill a sitting president, or even the first attack on a U.S. president at the Washington Hilton. Back in 1981, just months into his presidency, Ronald Reagan was walking to his limousine when John Hinckley Jr. fired 6 shots, one of the bullets hitting Reagan and seriously injuring him. The former president spent about 2 weeks in the hospital until he recovered. Hinckley was immediately arrested and admitted to wanting to kill Reagan to impress a famous actress. Hinckley was deemed mentally ill and checked into an institution. September will mark 10 years since his release. Yesterday, Hinckley spoke to TMZ, saying the Washington Hilton should stop holding big events because it is not secure. Saturday's shooting is raising new questions about security at the event. Our Mark Seagraves walks us through what we know about the suspect's movements on Saturday night and what the security was like then.
Yeah, there have been a lot of questions since Saturday raised about whether or not there was enough security here at the hotel, including by the suspect himself, who questioned the level of security in his message to his family, which ended with an apology for what he was about to do.
The virtual tour on the Washington Hilton's website gives you a view of the hallway where Cole Allen entered as he headed toward the Secret Service security checkpoint, armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and knives. Surveillance video shows the moment Allen rushes past security, who were seen quickly drawing their weapons. Police say there was an exchange of gunfire between the checkpoint and the top of the stairs 60 feet away where Allen was taken into custody. One Secret Service agent was struck by a bullet but not seriously injured due to his protective vest. Had Allen not been stopped, he would have had to gone down these two staircases and then through these doors into the massive ballroom where thousands of guests were seated, and President Trump and others were at the head table on the stage, where Secret Service whisked him away. The scene in the ballroom was chaotic.
I was at a table kind of near the back, and what I heard personally was a lot of commotion, a lot of people ducking. That's all I saw, and we all ducked under tables, and my table did. Everyone stayed down. Felt like 5, maybe 10 minutes. We didn't really know what was going on. And then we all get up afterwards. There's a lot of rumors, like we're trying to get, there's no cell service, that's the other thing. No one's knowing what's going on.
About an hour after the incident, President Trump's motorcade left the Hilton, and minutes later, Trump addressed the nation at a press conference in the White House. The suspect, 31-year-old Cole Allen of California, was not injured but was taken to a local hospital for evaluation.
Now, a lot of people have asked whether or not this should have been designated as a national special security event by the White House, which would have greatly elevated the level of security here at the building. That designation in the past has been reserved for things like the inauguration, for a State of the Union address, for Super Bowls, things of that nature. This event, which has been going on for decades with members of Congress, with members of the cabinet and presidents in the past, has never had that kind of a designation. We also know that he checked in on Friday, and while the hotel does not permit guests to have guns, there's really no scrutiny or screening for guests to enter the hotel and get up to their rooms. That kind of screening only came for those people going to the ballroom. We did reach out to Hilton, ask them for a comment. All they told us is that safety is of a paramount concern to them, and they are cooperating with the investigation. From the Hilton Hotel, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
Shortly after the shooting outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner, conspiracy theories began popping up online. Earlier, we spoke to a social media researcher and Georgetown University professor about why Americans may not trust what they see on their phones and TVs and the eroding of public trust.
You can see what's happening live on your screen, but the sense that something deeper is happening behind the scenes is so ingrained in our politics at this point. You know, false flags are everywhere in our movies. They're almost nowhere in reality, but that gap is very real. People often don't trust that an event is really happening if it might indicate that, if they want to believe that something might be attributable to a dark hand, to something that might indicate that one of their political enemies is responsible for something, what you're really seeing reflected is distrust. I think it's very troubling. I think what is most troubling about it is that it's across the political spectrum. Prior to this event at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you were seeing members of the community that had previously been very supportive of the president questioning the Butler assassination attempt just a few weeks prior. So this is something that is really expansive. It used to be that these types of narratives were very, very fringe. We've also seen, though, Democratic Party politicians questioning this attempt. So this is the sort of thing where opinions like this that used to be very fringe, that used to reflect a real conspiratorial mindset, are very normalized now. That's one of the things that's most troubling about it.
This incident comes as political violence remains a huge concern in our country. The News4 I-team has reviewed polling from UC Davis and Politico, which both show nearly a quarter of Americans show some level of support for political violence. Just hours after the shooting, President Trump was asked whether this form of violence is now just a part of America.
It's dangerous stuff, whether it's here or someplace else. No country is immune.
The I-team has covered the concerning level of support for political violence for years. Experts tell our Ted Oberg there are things that can be done to slow it down.
Experts say there are things we can all do to prevent these kind of acts of political violence, and the alleged shooter's family in this instance did some of them. A senior administration official tells NBC News his family called police as soon as they received his writings Saturday night. That official saying police in Connecticut and Montgomery County, Maryland, both spoke to family members, but it was unfortunately too late. Police say he sent family members that note just before running towards metal detectors. We don't know everything that the alleged shooter's family did to intervene prior to Saturday, but experts say it's during the months when someone is saying concerning things, possibly radicalizing, that's the best time to intervene to try and prevent all of this. We previously spoke to Brian Hughes, an expert in political extremism and radicalization, when he worked at American University's Peril Center.
It can be very frustrating. It can really make you mad to have to talk to a person who seems so far afield. But it has to be done, and the best way to do it is to do it from a place of curiosity, a place of gentle questioning. Probe these beliefs. Ask people why they believe what they believe, and over time, people will begin to question some of these rhetorics and narratives that they've heard. And when they begin to question it, there's a very good chance that they'll abandon some of the worst of it, if not all of it.
Hughes and other experts tell the I-Team it's not one conversation that will change someone's behavior, more like a series of small waves that will eventually change the tide. AU's Peril Center, by the way, has great resources for all of us to easily understand the things that we can do. I'm Ted Oberg for the News 4 IT.
That brings us to today's survey question. How worried are you about acts of political violence? Not at all, extremely, or somewhere in the middle. You can weigh in on the question right now at NBCWashington.com/vote. There will be much more to come in the days and weeks ahead as we learn new information. Find it out first in the NBC Washington app. We'll also send out push alerts for any major developments right to your phone. Still ahead on the News 4 Rundown tonight, the district has some royal company this week. Our Joseph Olmo was there as the King and Queen reached our region. Coming up, more on this historic visit. Plus,
still ahead on News 4, there is something about this bench along the Sligo Creek Trail. Something about this bench that has brought hundreds of people together, strangers who never knew each other and probably will never meet. But something about it is creating community and connection here. I'm Tommy McFly. Stories on the way on News 4.
We did see a beautiful day across the area. Plenty of sunshine, high temperatures, upper 60s to low 70s, but tracking a storm system back to the middle part of the country that's moving our direction. I'll show you what it means to our Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond. See you back here in just a minute.
back now with some of today's other top stories. The Virginia Supreme Court is poised to decide whether the redistricting referendum approved by voters last week was lawful or if the results should be declared invalid. The court heard arguments today from attorneys from both sides. Earlier this year, the court ruled the referendum could move forward, but said they'd rule on the merits later. In less than 2 months, D.C. voters will head to the polls for a primary that will bring the city one step closer to electing a new mayor. Voters will also be casting ballots on that day for a special election to fill the at-large council seat. To prepare, election officials are testing the voting equipment ahead of time. The D.C. primary is scheduled for June 16th. A civil trial is underway in Virginia to potentially remove the vice mayor of Purcellville. Ben Ned is accused of using his political position to personally benefit financially and also to retaliate against others. He maintains his innocence, but a group of voters gathered signatures to recall him from office. The town of Purcellville has a council meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. If Ned is not removed, he will be attending that meeting and will have his voting power. Prince George's County Public Schools just launched a new initiative to combat chronic absenteeism. It's called the Attendance Ambassador Program. Participants sign a pledge committing to show up, encourage positive habits, and help remove barriers to attendance, like getting a ride to school. The program has already been tested at one school, and students say it's working. The British royals are in the district tonight. King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived earlier this afternoon to begin their state visit. They had tea at the White House with the president and first lady, and a few hours ago arrived at the British Embassy. News 4's Joseph Olmo was there for their arrival at the embassy, along with a shutdown of Massachusetts Avenue.
Hey, it is quite the scene outside of the British Embassy here in upper northwest Washington. Let me just step out of the way. There are still guests of this garden party at the British Embassy that took place earlier this afternoon, flowing out of the gates and meeting up with the people who are going to be picking them up. And I was told by somebody who I know who was inside the garden party that it was like a who's who in there. We saw a former governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, walking out. We saw a former cabinet secretaries walking out, high-profile journalists. I even saw Kristen Welker walking out, moderator of Meet the Press. This was obviously a big deal because it's not every day that a reigning British monarch comes to our nation's capital, comes to the United States. In fact, it was all the way back in 2007 the last time that happened, when Elizabeth II came for a state dinner at the White House with then President George W. Bush. Check this out. You're going to think this is really cool. When the king and his wife, the Queen Camilla, were riding from the White House to the British Embassy, they had their windows rolled down in the back of their BMW sedan, and they were able to wave to some of the spectators and the media waiting outside of the British Embassy as they pulled in. A big day here in Washington. It's only day one of 4 days of this historic trip. Tomorrow and today, Washington, D.C., and then there's going to be a trip up to New York City, and then the King and the Queen come back to Virginia to visit a national park. We're not sure which national park it's going to be. There's been rumors about it being Shenandoah, but they're kind of keeping those plans on the down low right now. But certainly a historic day in Washington. A lot of people coming out here to see something that doesn't happen that often. King and Queen of England visiting our nation's capital, and I'll send it back to you.
It warmed up nicely for a Monday, Doug.
Beautiful day.
Yes, it was.
After what was not a great weekend.
Not so great, right.
But today we did see plenty of sunshine. High temperatures today, upper 60s to low 70s, and pictures like this all day. Sunshine. We do have some clouds moving in. These are high clouds right now, out ahead of our next storm system that will bring changes for our Tuesday and especially into the day on Wednesday. But gorgeous out there right now. Sun doesn't go down until nearly 8 o'clock now. 67 degrees currently. Winds out of the east at 11 miles per hour. We're going to see those winds kind of increase a little bit. 68 Leesburg, 68 Culpeper, 67 right now in Fredericksburg. So a beautiful evening all across our area. We're not tracking rain currently. However, we're tracking a big storm back to the middle part of the country. Severe weather outbreak ongoing. Numerous severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, flash flood warnings, and all of this energy is moving our way. Now, you can see the high clouds already streaming our way out ahead of that system, but this system is going to kind of fall apart by the time it gets to us. I don't expect any weather from it during the day tomorrow. So let's show you what's happening here as we move on through the night. We see the cloud cover, but notice the showers just kind of dissipate, maybe a couple of sprinkles early tomorrow morning, but that's really about it. The clouds and the onshore flow will keep things cooler again. This model's going temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. I'm going a little cooler than this, but if we see some sunshine, we could get into the upper 60s. That would be quite nice, but I do think we're going to see a lot of clouds, especially early. Now, more clouds develop on Wednesday. Wednesday's very interesting because we have another system that's going to work its way through here. Could get here during the morning hours, late morning hours into around noon, 1 o'clock as a warm front moves through. Now, this could produce some strong to severe storms as it's coming on through here. I'm not super worried about severe weather, even with the next line that comes through. Temperatures are just not going to get all that warm. We don't have a lot of sunshine out there, so not a lot to get that instability going, but it's something we're going to be tracking very closely for you on your Wednesday, just in case we see some severe weather there. But a better chance for rain, and boy, do we need the rain. 64 on Thursday, 65 on Friday. Not bad there. Tracking a possible storm on Saturday. That's one to watch. Highs only in the upper 50s to near 60 this weekend. So the 2 weekend days, just like this past weekend, the coolest days, and we stay on the cool side for most of the 10-day forecast.
As college seniors prepare to step into the real world, many will take inspiration from those who have reached the highest levels of success. Georgetown University announced today that former NFL quarterback Tom Brady will serve as one of its 13 commencement speakers next month. Brady will address undergraduate students at the School of Business on May 16th. Graduates at the University of District of Columbia will hear from a hometown leader. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, a fifth-generation Washingtonian, has served the district in elected office since 2004. She is the only black woman elected to 3 four-year terms as mayor. Bowser will deliver the commencement address at UDC's ceremony on May 9th. Stick around. The News 4 Rundown will be right back after this break. Finally tonight, a dedicated bench in Montgomery County is bringing together a sense of community, but you have to look closely to find out why. News 4's Tommy McFly is along Sligo Creek with this noteworthy story.
There's some magic happening at this bench on the side of Sligo Creek, right off the trail, that began as a memorial to one man, one of our neighbors, and has brought hundreds of people together, sharing their hopes, dreams, and thoughts, one notebook entry at a time. To really understand what's going on here, you've got to meet Paul's wife, Sue.
The moments I particularly treasured with him was during family meals, joking around at the table. Paul was very much a family man, very dedicated to our two children. During his last years, we'd go in Montgomery County parks and hike, and sometimes there would be benchmarks by each. Can you make it to the first bench, the second bench? So a bench seemed really fitting as a tribute.
The bench is set up, and
then this box appears out of nowhere, and I'm completely dumbfounded. Where did this come from? Why is it here? It was clearly a place inside. There was a notebook, and people had already begun writing in it, running here every day to get in shape, to join the FBI.
Wow.
Tell you if I make it. Wish me luck and health.
I hope I find someone to marvel at the world's magic with.
When you find someone great in your life, let them know how much you appreciate them and don't let them go. I think that some people feel that it's a release or an opportunity that they might not have even thought of before. I wonder how many people who've written here also keep any kind of journal.
I'm so glad this box and book are still here. I built the original one in 2020.
I kept hoping for so long that a message from the maker of these boxes would finally appear, and there it was, and my heart stopped. I must have read that a dozen times.
It's beautiful, too.
Yeah. Liz is the mysterious woman to whom I'm forever grateful for leaving the box on the back of Paul's bench. Oh, I've often imagined how would he respond. He's been able to encourage people to reflect on nature and on life. He'd be very profoundly moved by them.
Thank you, Sue, for sharing Paul's bench with us. Tommy McFly, News 4.
So many thoughtful and encouraging messages bringing that community together in Montgomery County. So great to see. We have another busy night right here on NBC4. Coming up next, an NBA playoff doubleheader. First up, the Orlando Magic look to take a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Detroit Pistons. The second half of our doubleheader, the Denver Nuggets will try to avoid elimination against the Minnesota Timberwolves. News 4 at 11 will then air on time on our streaming channel. You can also catch the news right after the end of the Nuggets Timberwolves game. And that is going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Monday night. For now, I'm Min Yang. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow.